Our basic means of changing people's behaviors is changing their attitudes about that behavior. The thought is that the only reason we engage in certain behaviors is because we feel positively about them, and we avoid others because we feel negatively. It's simple association. Thus, if we are engaging in a negative habit, it is because we feel more positively about that habit than we do negatively. For instance, people smoke because they are focused on the positives, such as reduced stress and socialization on smoke breaks, more than they care about the negatives, such as lung cancer. Therefore, to change the behavior, the negatives need to become more salient than the positives. One way to do this is through educational appeals. Give the person more information about the positives and negatives of the behavior. For instance, we might promote information about the link between smoking and lung cancer. In theory, this works because humans are supposed to be rational creatures, and when we get information that identifies beneficial and detrimental courses of action, we're going to take the more beneficial. Of course, humans aren't actually as rational as we like to think we are. For instance, we generally know that salad is good for us, we should exercise every day, and we retain more information by studying well in advance. Yet, we binge the pizza, skip the gym, and put off study until the night before the test. This is because people have constantly competing interests, desires, and motivations that can alter how they understand, incorporate, and recall information that is presented. In fact, humans are really good at completely ignoring information that doesn't fit their worldview. Therefore, depending on rationality is not always effective for changing behaviors. Instead, we have to appeal to a more base motivations. As you see, that video involved humor, but was also targeted at more emotional responses, specifically fear of being unable to handle an unruly child due to poor contraceptive behaviors. Rather than try to sway people with rationality, fear appeal rely on people's natural inclination to avoid negatives in their lives, thus giving the behavior greater salience, which is harder to ignore. Many anti-smoking ads have gone beyond basic information and into fear appeals. Even the may cause death labeling is more emotional appeal than educational. However, these fear appeals can go too far, leading to coping responses involving distancing or avoidance, similar to how people react to other stressors. Most commonly, people develop cognitive excuses why the presented situation is a misrepresentation of their probable fate. Therefore, methods of attitude change need to find the right balance, which is challenging given every individual has different thresholds for what will sway them. The third focus of attitude change builds on these individual differences in response to fear appeals to observe that different people are more responsive to positive messages and benefits more than negative messages and risks. The opposite is also true, with some people preferring negatively framed messages. For instance, research shows that when trying to convince people to engage in health behaviors, people who are more knowledgeable about research on health behavior are more responsive to negative messages, whereas the general public prefer messages that highlight potential benefits. The main point of message framing is that not only one size fits all, and we have to consider the audience. Now, hold on. We can all think of examples where having a positive attitude or belief about a behavior did not actually get us up off our derrieres to act in healthy ways. Actually, our likelihood of starting and stopping a behavior takes more than just believing it is good or bad. The theory of reasoned action attempts to take this into account by stating that the most important element of whether someone is likely to change their behavior is their actual intention to change. That is, we need to want to change. Attitudes certainly influence our intention to change our behavior, but researchers propose that another factor, that is, subjective norms, also play a role. Whereas attitudes are the belief that something is a good idea for us, such as believing running is healthy and it will protect us from heart disease, subjective norms represent whether people external to us will support that behavior. For instance, others might expect that we maintain a certain level of fitness and support our belief that running is healthy. If this is not the case, we will care less about engaging in the behavior. Researchers called this the theory of reasoned action because we have specific reasons, that is, attitudes and perceived norms, for why we are going to engage in the action or behavior. Reasons for the action. The theory of reasoned action provided a good model for understanding change, but researchers soon realized that there were also times when people had positive attitudes about a behavior and their friends supported the behavior, but the person still didn't do the behavior. They theorized that there might be environmental and personal issues that prevent a person from being able to engage in the behavior regardless of their desire. For instance, we might want to become a runner, but if we are swamped at school or worried about injury, our intention is blocked. Or maybe we want to give up smoking and all our friends are telling us to quit smoking, but the cravings are just too strong. We feel a physiological inability to stop. Researchers called this perceived control and named the revised theory the theory of planned behavior because individuals need to feel that they have an effective plan for how to follow through on the behavior. Okay, that's it for models based primarily on attitude change, but we aren't done. In the next video, we will discuss the health belief model, which is one of the most commonly used current models for understanding why people are likely to engage in healthy behaviors. Whereas the theory of reasoned action and theory of planned behavior focus on the person's intention to engage in a behavior, the health belief model focuses on our core beliefs about the relationship between the behavior and the health outcome.